What up, though, Detroit? So, you already know the deal. Just giving a shout out to Petty Tupac TV. Like, comment, subscribe. You already know the deal. We have to support everybody's businesses, and you already know how it goes. We support each other. You know what I'm saying? Make Detroit win.
What's your name and where are you from, man? For those who don't know.
Man, my name is William Kitchen. I got a couple different names, but my name is William Kitchen, bro. I'm from Muskegon Heights, Michigan, South Side.
What area did you grow up in?
I was born in '85, came up in the '90s a little bit. So,
How was it in Muskegon at that time? Was it crimed out at the time, or was it still a good community, or what?
yeah, so Muskegon is kind of like divided into different little sections. The city I'm from is Muskegon Heights. It's like inner city, typical low income families, um, a degree of poverty, high level of criminality. But it's still those pockets of, successful people that's trying to, live right, do decent, um, and get some money. So it's typical like any other neighborhood, inner city neighborhood in Michigan or the U.S. period, where you just have, that jungle atmosphere, and then you have those pockets of success as well.
Who were your biggest influences growing up, whether it was from the streets or the movies or whatever?
My biggest influences probably would have been growing up, like my mother for sure. Just seeing her put that extra work in to provide for me. Um, the way she loved on me, like I think that probably was like my biggest influence because I recognized it at an early age. Like she go above and beyond with her love, even though at times it was a little overprotective. She still held me down. So she was a major influence. Aside from her, growing up, man, I had a couple church people, man, who was real active in my life. That wanted to steer me right. Um, but I ain't really had nobody that I really was just like looking up to, like, yeah, I want to be like them. I never really encountered nobody to where, I was like, yeah, I want to go in that direction. I kind of was just kind of lost growing up, kind of like freestyling, trying to find my way the best way I could.
Mm. What age did you hop off the porch?
About 12, start running away about 12. I got exposed to the block about that age, 11, 12 years old. And it was crazy because, I grew up church. You feel me? Like my family was church people on both sides of it. Um, but about that age, bro, I started running away, man. I started seeing like, man, I could be out here doing what I want to do, how I want to do it. I ain't got to listen to nobody. I ain't got to take direction from nobody. I can just be my own person. You know what I mean? So I started gravitating towards that type life, just trying to get away from restrictions and get away from penalties and punishments. And when I look back on it, it was crazy because the main thing I wanted to do was just like hang out, drink a beer, smoke a cigarette when I was 12. I couldn't do it at home, so I had to run away to do it. And me running away, I just started staying gone. And I just
Right.
turned it to a domino effect to where it was just like I started doing other stuff, stealing cars, doing different things because now I don't have that structure in my life. I don't have that authority or accountability in my life, watching over me. So just started doing random kid misbehaving things. You know what I mean?
Right. So when you was out here doing what you was doing, when did you first start getting into trouble?
I would say about 13. Um, came with like just being a runaway, stealing cars. Um,
Was you going to like juveniles and stuff like that?
no, I ended up going to like this little spot called the Webster's House. It's for like runaways. But no, I never had caught a case that landed me in prison until I caught that case. And I was like 14. I caught an armed robbery, felony firearm charge, and I went to prison behind that. So prior to that, it was just, when you young and you ain't got no authority in your life, you just doing dumb stuff. But by the time I turned 14, bro, I had progressed from, stealing cars and being a petty thief. And, I had progressed into armed robbery. So I committed an armed robbery And I was sentenced to 11 years in the MDOC. End up doing 10 years on flops on top of that 11. I spent 21 years in prison, brother.
Wow. We gonna get into that. When did the gang affiliation come about?
Um, you know, where I'm from, we always had gangs out here, but it was more so like cliques and uh, you had your national type gangs like GDs, Vice Lords, Crips, Bloods, whatnot. But the main thing that was kind of like motivating the culture out here was what side of town you was from and what block you was representing. So I always had like an infatuation for being a part of a clique, because I was a part of a clique out here. But when I ain't really started gang banging, brother, till I went to the joint trying to find myself, and then in the process of trying to find myself, I found a gang. You hear me?
Right. What gang did you end up joining in prison?
When I first came down, I was 14, got sentenced. So when I really started, kind of looking towards like joining the gang, I was about 16. I ain't joined the gang until I was like 17. I joined the Vice Lords.
Oh, the Vice Lords. Okay. What was appealing about the Vice Lords? What made you gravitate towards them?
I had a homeboy that recognized, like, I had a few dudes that I was running with at the time, and we wasn't gang banging, but we was loyal to each other. And so he felt like, man, if he tapped me, if he started rocking with me, he had access to the younger guys that I had with me. So, and I kind of looked up to him to a little bit, man. He was from a shy, but I think he caught his case in like Ben Harbor, Lansing. Call him School Ill. You know what I mean, Frank. But I used to look up to him, man. I thought he was a cool dude, but he started teaching me about some stuff I ain't never heard of. Like, he had a flip and a twist on everything. Like, that's kind of where I started falling in love with like Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey. Like, he was feeding it to me when I was like 17 years old. But then he had mixed the gang thing with it. So I was like, it was all the same. I never really thought at that time I was joining the gang, bro. Like, I'm really thinking like we on some take over our communities, young, we gonna be the next Malcolm X and the next Marcus Garveys. And so he used that recruiting tool in a way to appeal to me. So uh, that's kind of what, a little bit of the motivation behind that for me.
What year did you go to prison?
I went to prison I caught my case in June 2000, and I was in prison by February 2001. 2001.
And how much time did you come down with?
Originally, I was sentenced to 11 to 40 years in prison.
11 to 40 years?
That's 11 to 40.
At 14?
At 14, brother, they charged me as an adult, hit me with TIS, truth and sentencing laws had just kind of went into effect. And yeah.
What did you think?
Mind you, I had no previous convictions. I had never been to the juvenile detention. I had never been to the county. I caught that case. I spent 8.5 months in the county jail. And then I got sentenced to 11 to 40 years in prison.
At 14 years old, what did you think heading into prison?
Man, I was scared, brother.
God.
You can call it what you want to call it. You know what I mean? Like, people don't want to face reality, bro. I was a 14-year-old kid going to prison. I was scared. The only thing that I knew, the only concepts that I had of being in prison, remember that show Oz that used to be on HBO?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I'm about to go in there and meet Annabisi, you hear me? So I was scared. I was scared as hell.
Yeah. They in there.
Yeah,
They
no,
in
for
there.
sure. No, that's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact. So, I was scared, man. I remember I went to Riverside after I left the county. That's where they were sending us to. So I went to Riverside for orientation, and man, it was about 3 or 4 guys that from the city that I live in, and I mean, they wrapped the shield around me, bro. So I had some little incidents that had that transpired there, but these dudes from my city, they was like big homies, and they knew me, and they knew my people, so they put a shield around me, bro, and they made sure I was good, because yeah, it could have got bad for me, bro.
What's the first time somebody tried you?
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I know it sound crazy, but I ain't never get tried. Like I ain't
Oh, really?
never, yeah, I ain't never, and I done been on yards with New York, Pussycat. You know what I mean? I ain't never got tried. I think more so because, by the time I really got into the gang, I moved up the ranks real quick. I started networking and collaborating, so I always had a shield around me. So I done had dudes run up on me, on a violence type, tip, but I ain't never had like no predator cut into me not one time.
No, I wasn't talking about a predator. I was just talking about the first time a guy might try to take a cake or not pay you back or something like that.
Yeah. You know that, people gonna do that always, try to figure you out, feel you out. So first time that happened to me, I was like 16 years old, man, and a guy asked me to use my Walkman. We had Walkmans back then. The
Uh-huh.
guy asked me to use my Walkman. I let him use it, thinking he was cool. He told me to get paid. Like, get paid. Like, just bring my Walkman out. Like, if you don't like it, block the door. And in my mind, I'm like, what is block the door? It was a concept to where, you could block your door at ball when you can, go in there and get it in with each other, block the door, y'all go in there and throw hands. So I go back in there and tell my bunkie, like, man, he told me to block the door. What that mean? He want to fight you over this Walkman. Now, my first thought, brother, is I ain't about to fight no dude over no Walkman. You can have that Walkman. I'll order another one. But then my bunkie sat me down like, nah, if you let him get down on you right here, right now, and take your Walkman, the next time it's gonna be your TV, your commissary, your butt. You know what I'm saying? It could take people to try you for anything. So you gotta set an example right here, right now. So and I blocked the door and beat the mess out of him.
Oh man, he tried you over a walk.
I would have just let him have it, but he scared me. My bunkie scared me. Like if you let him take your Walkman, somebody go try to take something else from you. So I beat him with the trash can in the room.
Wow, that's crazy. Have you ever been stabbed or stabbed one? If so, can you explain the situations?
Yeah, it's been a couple situations, bro, because, like I said, I didn't have a proclivity to violence when I first came down. Like I wasn't a violent dude. I had just got caught up in violent situations because of the people that I ran with, but I never had an inclination to just go out and be violent like that. And so experiencing so much violence around me where everybody was fighting. And at that time, people was getting locked, with the lock and the sock. I felt like, man, I'm going to leave up out of here the same way I came in. So I started following lead. I started looking at the people around me and how they was navigating, and I started emulating that. Like I figured, if I demonstrated a couple demonstrations, you'll leave me alone. So, my first time stabbing somebody, man, the knife broke on me. I ain't make it right. You know, I took an L that day. I was more so feeling like I wasn't a great fighter, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna stab him one time, and that'll be that. The knife broke, and he started throwing hands. He got down on me. You know what I mean? I felt super bad because I'm like, yo, damn, I got beat down with the knife. You hear me? I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna go double back around on that. So,
Right.
I did though. I did. I got back a couple times. So, but at Baldwin, it was crazy because we had like a lot of city beef. You know what I mean? It was the gangs that existed, but the real thing that influenced the culture at Baldwin at that time when I was there back in the early 2000s was what city you was from. And so we had city beefs. Like Detroit was massive. You know what I'm saying? Like they was massive, bro. And so you had smaller cities like Muskegon, where I'm from, that had to click up with other cities. And so we inherited a lot of the issues that came from like Grand Rapids because we up the street from Grand Rapids. So anytime Grand Rapids would have an issue with some, Detroit dudes, we jumped in. Saginaw, Ben Harbor, we was always finding ourselves clicking up, and I got tired of it, bro, because most of my mans was from Detroit. Like, you know what I mean? I love my city, but at the same time, the people that I kind of rock with and bang with, they from the city. So, I figured, I'm gonna just stay out of that, bro. And to staying out of it, I got into it with some dudes that I was running with because they felt like I should have got involved. I wasn't trying to do that. So that was the first time I used the lock and the sock. We was at church service. You know what I mean? Hit him with the lock and the sock. Down goes
Damn.
Fred.
So to backtrack a little bit, the first guy that you stabbed or attempted to, what was that over?
Man, it was over like so we used to have these metal detectors in the hallway. And dude when we was going through the metal detectors, I had something on me. I was just simply trying to pass it off to him so I could slide through the metal detectors. And he told me, nigga, I ain't doing that. Suck my. So that was that issue, bro. I didn't even have a beef with dude. We didn't even have an issue prior to that. I simply asked him to do a shoot a move for me, and he invited me to his private parts.
Wow.
So that's why I tried to stab him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so after all of this little violence or whatever, bro, like I was 18 years old, and you know I had met up with the homie. He had recruited me. He had seen what I was doing, and it's crazy because a lot of the times you don't even really put in work, but the way that it sounds, by the time it make it to somebody else's ears, it sounds like you a beast, right? Like dog got down on me after I tried to get him. You feel me? But by the time it traveled, it was like, yeah, he pulled out the banger and tried to put it in his neck. He tried to kill him. And so now I got a little celebrity off of that, and that wasn't even the case, bro, right? But by the time I was 18, they STG'd me. They put me on STG too.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that.
Damn, you Randall from recess, you tell a lie. I'm like the Weight Watchers, I use my scale a lot. Stop window shopping 1 packs, you gon' be a seller 9. You ain't never seen no bullets at them or trailer op. My bitch remind me of RJ, she always trippin'. They get into it with us to turn the sauce to chips, they always dippin'. Yeah, we could do the same shit, but I say it different. My young boys Jehovah Witness, they be paying visits. How you a player like you say you was for that pussy you paying pimpin'? Everything I put out so raw, you just can't sniff. I got the best O-line, even on goal line, you can't bliss it. You not a hustler, you keep getting in front of, you just can't flip it. You ain't really got it, you P. Diddy, you be remixing. Oh, where you just got a new Glock? That's a free biscuit. Petty Tupac know what's up, he know on the meal ticket. They probably for your music a little more if you real with it. I get that sniff and put my heel in. You have PlayStation party meetings, I'm about real business. I'm a SCD, I'm here, you don't like it, gotta deal with it. I don't like that, bro, but it's so low, I'ma still get it. If you drink it green lean, take a pill with it. I hope every real nigga doing time get a pill with it. They say real, don't say they real, but I'm a real nigga. I ain't lying, even if I was blind, I wouldn't feel niggas.